Hey guys, welcome back. So today we got 2017 Tucson. They just picked up the car 4 days ago, and I think they did a engine replacement on this one. And customer complained about engine vibration and check engine light. So let's scan for codes first before we're gonna start the vehicle. So let me just do. Okay, so we have an active code for a random misfire and a cylinder number 2 misfire. Alright, let me just go to DTC. And let's go freeze frame. It says there 21 kilometers per hour when the code triggered. What else is valuable that we can get any clues? So it says there distance after mill on at 25 kilometers. So let's go to our data. Okay, so I'm just gonna go up. I'm just gonna go straight to our. Let's just double check the injection time and then our misfire counter. Okay, here misfire counter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Okay, let's start the vehicle. So right now, let me remove this guy here. So as I can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then let's go graph. So our number 2 is counting right now. I can feel our engine is vibrating, right? I just do some revving. As you can see there, our misfire count climb up. Could be that it's just an ignition coil problem, also spark plug. Alright, so at least we verify that there is misfiring, and now we'll double check if it's really number 2 is misfiring, right? So let's go under the hood and let's see. Okay, so we're here. First, we're just gonna do some visual inspection, since we know that this car has been replaced with new engine, and since we know that it's easy to swap, let's do that. I'm gonna remove the 2 coils and remove also our spark plug and just double check from there. As you can see here, the clip is broken, right? So number 1. Okay, and then I'll just remove our spark plug. See? you can see our spark plug that's black back, right? It could be from the misfire. Let's remove the number 1. Let's just compare it. So as you can see there, the comparison is all. This one is black and the other one is normal wear, right? So I'm just going to check the gap on it. Sometimes when you do an engine, especially if you don't use a proper tool, you just drop the spark plug, this guy will tend to squish in, right? So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to swap number 1 and number 2 coil, right? That's easy. Instead of, because we know that it's misfiring right now, so at least we're not dealing with an intermittent one, right? So I don't need to use any scoping to see what's going on, and it's accessible, right? So I think this is a more efficient way. So let's just swap it. So I'm just gonna put number 2 to number 1. And then I'm gonna move the number 3 spark plug to number 2. Oh, that's tight, right? Okay, same thing on number 3. As you can see there, that's not that black. So let's put number 3 to number 2 for spark plug, and number 2 spark plug to number 3. I'm just gonna install our ignition coils. So now we're just gonna go back into the car and let's monitor our misfire counter. Okay, I started the car right now. As you can see there, cylinder number 2 is still misfiring. Right? So it's not ignition coil, it's not a spark plug. So what else could be? Is this injector problem? Okay. So let's go tax and let's grab our oxygen sensor and see if we have some indication there of what kind of misfire we have. So as you can see here, our upstream at 1.38. I believe on these models they should read a good number of 1.9 or 2 volts, right? And it's reading rich. Do you think we have a injector stock open. What else do we have? Okay, now let's go to OBD2. Let's see. So it's either we have injector stock open, or we got injector stock closed, and then it's dumping more fuel for the 3 cylinders, and that's why we have that rich data for the upstream auto sensor, right? So I'm just gonna go to our, here's our bank 1 sensor 2, bank 1 sensor 1. Yep, as you can see there, minus 0.11 MA, meaning that it's rich. So what else can we do on this guy? It's either I'm gonna scope the ignition and see and compare between each of the firing of number 1 or number 2, or best way is maybe I can just shut it off, remove that spark plug in number 2, ignition on, and see if we have some fuel injector open, stock open. But as I can see right now, I don't really have smoke coming out from the tailpipe. So you know what, before I open my scope, I'm just gonna do a quick visual on that inside the cylinder. I'm gonna take that out, and then I'll see. Alright guys, so I hook up our scope. So on our blue, that's gonna be our cylinder number 1 primary, because there's 2 wire on this ignition coil, so we can check our primary. Primary voltage, right? And primary on the cylinder number 2. And I know we just replaced the engine on this one, so I'm just gonna do our relative compression, and let's see if we have a good compression in each cylinder, right, before I go crazy and check maybe it's an injector problem. So right now it's running, so I'm just gonna start the vehicle. I remove our connector for our injector, right? So it's just gonna be cranking. So I'm just gonna stop this. Let's go back here, and what we're looking for is even peaks, right? So we know that our number 1, our blue is our number 1. So let me just move this, filter it. So as you can see here, I can even clearly see now. So I don't know if we're gonna be dealing with, see that? Just number 1. So the firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. So 1, 3, 4, and here's our number 2 primary, and it's lower, right? So now the next thing is, I don't think I'm gonna check for injector in this one, right? Because we know that we have lower peak on our number 2. So I'm gonna check for our compression right now and see, right? Okay, so I just removed our spark plug, number 2, and then what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna put our compression gauge, right? Okay. And then my reliable assistant there will be cranking the engine. So crank it. Okay. So let me zoom in. As you can see there, we got 60 psi on number 2. Right? So now what I'm gonna do is, let's compare it with our good known cylinders, which is 1, 3, and 4. I'm gonna remove our number 1 first. Good thing I double check our I know we just replaced the engine on this one. We did a quick relative compression test and it showed us that number 2 has a lower peak based on our capture and our scope, right? Hey, no swearing. We don't do swearing. So I'm just gonna put back our number 2. Right? Okay. I'm gonna put our compression test again on number 1. Okay, reliable assistant, crank. Okay, so as you can see there, it's almost at 150, to be exact at around 140 psi. So clearly we have problem on number 2. So what's next? It's either we're gonna do a cylinder leakage test, or I'm gonna put our we can do also an intake and exhaust pulse waveform with cranking it, right, and see if what happened during those events, right? And then we'll just verify with our cylinder leakage test and see if where's the leak coming from. So either from the intake, exhaust, could be from our, since this is direct injector, and direct injection could be from our injector there, the seal there, from our crankcase, right? So let me set that up and then we'll recheck again. Okay, so on our blue, that's still our number 1, at least that's a sync. On our red, I'm using our intake, right? On our green, that's gonna be our exhaust. And the last channel, or no, not the last channel, yes, the last channel will be our amp clamp to see the relative compression. So let me crank it again and let's see what we have. I don't know if you can hear that. Each compression is not even, right? Okay, so that's done. Let me stop this guy. Okay, let's start from here then. So our red, that's gonna be our intake. Let me just clean that up. yellow, that's gonna be our relative compression. Blue, that's the sink, and the green will be our exhaust. So I'm gonna zoom in. Okay. Let's go back again. Okay, so cylinder number 1, 1, 1, right? I'm gonna put some cursors. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, number 4. So, what do we have here? We know our number 2 has lower compression there, right? What else can we see here? Looks like my exhaust pulse are even, right? Let's go back on this waveform again and let's see what's going on. Let's do a cylinder leakage test and let's confirm where's the leak coming from. Okay, so I just removed again our number 2 spark plug. So I'm just gonna use this coat hanger and put in the cylinder inside. Okay. And then I will just turn the engine, and I want that on top dead center. So as you can see there, that our little flag there is going up. Right now I'm suspecting we got a problem with our exhaust valve. Maybe it's not sitting properly. As per I capture some waveforms there. Okay, I think that's the peak. Okay, so more or less the stop dead center. Now we're gonna use our cylinder leakage test. I'm just gonna screw this in. So now, next will be, we'll just turn this knob, put some pressure on the cylinder. Okay. Oh wait, because wow. So this is the wrong hose. There's still a valve there inside, so it stopped it. So let me grab another hose and let's redo our testing again. Okay, I got another hose here. We're just gonna put this in. Let's put this up here. Okay, and now let's put some pressure. Right now I'm putting more. That's at least 100 psi there. As you can see here in our other gauge, there's definitely a leak. So now all we have to check now is where's the leak coming from, right? So I'm gonna go here in our, oh no, there's some air coming out from here. That's from our intake. How about this guy? So nothing on our bottom end, that's the one that we replaced, the short block. So from the dipstick area, there's nothing in there. Let's go check our tailpipe and just double check there if we have something going on also, right? Okay, so we're now in the tailpipe. Let me see if I can hear something. I don't really hear something in there. I'm gonna put some gloves on it just to seal this, right? So right now I'm sealing that exhaust system right now. I have my gloves, so if there's a leak from there, we know the gloves will blow up, right? But there's nothing in there, so it's not the exhaust system, it's the intake. So as you can see there's air there from our intake. Just gonna do that again. Yeah. So it's either our intake is not sitting properly there, or there's something going on with the cylinder head, right? Just why is that coming out from there? That's our intake side. So I'm just gonna redo again. Let's see. Just to double check. So we're gonna turn our crank. And we're gonna set it up again on the center. So it's the same thing. There's still leak in there. So there's still leak in the intake. What else? I think what we're gonna do is maybe I'm gonna remove the valve cover and let's inspect what's going on in there. But for sure we have a leak in our intake. Alright, and we'll see. Okay, so our valve cover is out now. I really don't see any abnormalities right now, as far as I can see in my eyes, right? We don't know, maybe it could be the hydraulics in there. So I don't know. So what we can do right now is maybe, because I know that, because I didn't move the crankshaft, so I see the lobe there, the highest, the peak of the lobe. So for sure that intake valve should not be open, but we found out on our intake side that it's blowing air, right? So I'm gonna turn this crankshaft again, and maybe we can find something while I'm turning the crankshaft. And I don't think if it's a timing issue, it should be all cylinders, or maybe a random misfire, but it's very consistent in our number 2, right? And we know we have 60 psi of compression compared to cylinder number 1 has 140, more or less. Oh, come on. The exhaust side starts to close now, and our intake should start opening. Now I want to see the spring. So both valves are closed now. I can see the spring is moving, so I don't think or it could be a carbon buildup. It's in the intake valve is not sitting properly on that, right? What else? Okay, so at least I can visually check now, but both valves are closed, right? Our peak lobe here is facing up, so both valves are closed now. I'm gonna redo our cylinder leakage test. I just want to confirm that, you know, it's not opening slightly because of these valves here. So at least now I can see that it's really close. So I'm gonna redo my test and see if we still have a leak. What's going on? Okay, so cylinder leakage test is here. It's you can see there, 100 psi, we still have 80% of leak. And as you can see and hear, what we did earlier still leaking. So the question now is, what makes it leak? For sure it's not here. It's either it's inside and it's not sitting properly. So what else can we do is to remove this intake manifold itself and visually check the valves. Well, we have no choice at all, right? So let me do that. Let me remove the intake valve and let's get to the cause or the problem in this vehicle. Because even though if I'm gonna say like that, the warranty will say ask what's going on, right? So I'm just gonna do one step before they're telling me. So I'm gonna remove the intake manifold and let's recheck again and see. Hey guys, so as you can see, we remove our intake manifold. Still putting 100 psi in there. There's still a leak in there. So now, while I'm thinking, checking that side of the valve, I'm gonna focus a little bit. That area there, maybe it's not sitting properly there, but I can still feel air coming out, right? Because we know that we have an intake problem. So what I'm gonna do is, let me try spraying it. Okay, there you go. You can see there's bubbling there. So on that side is the problem. The right side is the intake valve. Oh, it's both intake valves. As you can see there, it's rushing air, right? I'm just using a brake cleaner just to verify. If not, I can just clean it or vacuum it again. Alright? I'm gonna do one more. So we have an intake valve problem. So I'm gonna suggest to them that this head is gonna be removed and we're gonna send it to the machine shop and that's it. Okay guys, so I just want to monitor again, not monitor, I review my capture using a pressure waveform here. So what's going on in here is, this is what we call the piston chart. It shows us what's going on every cylinder. So let's say on number 1, on this side, that's on power stroke, exhaust, intake, and compression. So right now, every time you use this, if ever you're gonna use this, what we're looking for is a different waveform from the other. So what I'm seeing right now here, this is a different one compared to the other ones. So the red one is our intake, right? So what I'm thinking right now is, our number 2 was our problem, right? When it goes to compression, that we expect both valves are closed, right? But since we know that our intake valve is open, right, it's not sealing properly, and as you can see here, there's a hash capture or a waveform, and that's our number 1, because on our number 1 is doing an intake stroke. So while number 2 is doing compression stroke, our intake cylinder number 1 intake is doing an intake stroke. So what's going on there is, what I'm thinking is, since our number 2 intake is open, right, slightly open, a sealing issue, instead of it's supposed to be closed, it pushes that air, and while our number 1 is doing an intake, and we got this hash mark, right? So that's it, guys. So we know that we got our intake problem. I'm just gonna send it to the machine shop and ask someone to remove it, and that's about it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you for watching.